And now to our discussion segment, the ongoing rebasing of the country's gross domestic product and consumer price index (CPI) set to be completed by the end of January 2025 by the National Bureau of Statistics, aims to provide more accurate reflection of Nigeria's economic dynamics. But what does this mean for the country's economic progress? Does it signify real growth, or is it just reframing of old data? Joining me in the studio to examine the implications of this routine statistical exercise and what it holds for Nigeria's economic future, Dr. Ayo Anju Anthony, Head of Prices Division of National Bureau of Statistics, and Mr. Moses Waniko, National Account Specialist and a staff of Statistical Intelligence Unit, SIU of MBS. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, to begin the conversation, rebasing. First of all, most Nigerians will be curious when you say rebasing, what does that actually, or what does it imply? Let's begin with Dr. Ayo Anju Anthony. When they say rebasing of CPI, what does it actually mean?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. CPI means Consumer Price Index, and it's a relative index in the sense that you are comparing changes in prices in the current period with a given base period. So when you talk of rebasing, it is the process of changing that base, the period you are comparing current prices with. Presently in Nigeria, our base year or price reference period is 2009. So when you talk of rebasing now, is the process of bringing the base period, the price reference period, closer to the current period so that you can be able to compute current inflationary pressure in the economy. Not only that, rebasing in prices also involve adjusting the basket, CPI basket, which is what we call consumption pattern of Nigeria, people living in Nigeria. Consumption pattern shows the relative expenditures of people in Nigeria on various items. And this consumption pattern is not static. It changes with time. So as time changes, you need to bring on board the correct consumption pattern. So rebasing also involves adjusting the weight to suit current consumption pattern of people living in Nigeria. Number three, rebasing also involves adjusting the computational methodology to suit the global best practice. So this is what CPI rebasing is all about.
Okay, Mr. Waniko, does this also apply to gross domestic product?
Yeah. So for rebasing of the GDP, what it means is that you try to change the base year to a more recent year, and this is done usually by National Statistics Office to properly reflect economic changes. You know, because the economy really is not static, it's dynamic. So there are changes that would have happened over time, and then you need to properly reflect that in the economy. So the rebasing affords the opportunity to properly, measure economic performance and then show the reality of the economy, of a country. So once you are able to do that, you change the base year, you get enough data, to measure the economy. You can now have some structural changes that are observed, and then you're able to reflect the realities on ground.
Okay, so why is it important to rebase?
So for the GDP, it's very important that you rebase. By international standards, we are supposed to be doing that every 5 years. You need to rebase because there are a lot of changes, structural changes in the economy. Sometimes you have changes in production patterns, you have changes in consumption patterns of the people, and then you have new products that will come into the economy over time. And so during the rebased year, you are able to bring all of this into bear in the rebasing process. So at the end of the process, what you have is a more realistic measurement of economic performance. So it's highly important that you rebase so that whatever policies that are built upon the numbers become more reliable.
Okay, Dr. Anthony, the last time I think we carried out this exercise was around 2014, which made Nigeria, I think when Nigeria was, I think, the largest economy in Africa. So what do we expect from this particular, what indicators do we expect from this particular exercise, Dr. Anthony?
Okay, thank you. As you rightly said, rebasing of GDP brings on board new economic activities that were excluded in the old base year. Now, definitely bringing on board digital economy, more informal sector captured, and other more recent economic activities coming on board, definitely we're expecting a bigger economic size because the output level will be higher compared to the 2014 output level. That is certain. Not only that, there are a lot of secondary indicators as well that will change. Immediately the GDP, which is the output level, increases. Definitely other indicators like debt to GDP will change. Revenue to GDP will change. Tax to GDP will also change. So a lot of other secondary indicators will also change as we rebase the GDP to reflect the current economic activities in Nigeria.
Can you shed light on those activities? Like,
for example, now, digital economy.
Okay, beautiful.
Highly huge. Also, a lot of economic activities are going on in the household, which you call informal economic activities. Definitely, they are all brought on board in the current GDP rebasing compared to the last GDP rebasing. So a lot of informal economic activities have been brought on board. Also, the pension fund administration is also brought on board. The National Health Insurance Scheme also is also part of the economic activity that have been brought on board in the current GDP rebasing. So definitely, as I said earlier, and as my colleague also buttressed, we're expecting a robust captured economic activities.
Okay, does this include, like a report I saw earlier, it says like it includes activities that involves illicit financial flows. Does it also include that?
No. Do you have qualified illicit?
Okay.
What is allowed to be included in the output measurement are things that are legal, things that involve rational economic transactions. So as people used to say that MBS want to include prostitution, illegal activity, no. Although according to the national system, NSA, National System of National Account, yes, it allows it based on positive economic reasoning. But based on normative, which is value judgment, our present environment is not right for that for now. And apart from that, we don't even have data on some of this illegal activity like prostitution. We don't have data on it.
But for prostitution cannot be considered as, I don't know, it's an economic activity. Is it not, Is it not providing service?
It's an economic activity, but we don't have data on it.
Okay.
So whatever we don't have data on, we cannot manipulate data and add it to the output level of the economy.
Okay, can you take us through, Dr. Anthony, on the methodology for this rebasing exercise, and does it comply to global best practice?
Okay. Let me start with the rebasing of the Consumer Price Index. Consumer Price Index is an index that gives the inflation rate of the economy. Now, the methodology of rebasing the CPI starts with a survey, which we call Household Budget Survey or Household Expenditure Survey. But in Nigeria, we call this survey Nigerian Living Standards Survey. That survey was conducted in 2023, and it's a 12-month survey when we examine over 22,000 household expenditure on goods and services for 12 calendar months. So this survey will now give us what we call weight. The weight is what we call relative expenditure of household. This survey also will give us items that people living in Nigeria are spending their resources on. So it is from this survey we get our what we call CPI basket. The one says CPI basket, the items that we use, the item that inform the prices we collect every month to compute consumer price index. So after the survey is done and we do the analysis, we get the weight, we get the basket. After the basket and the weight are gotten, another process is what we call data collection for 12 months to get what we call the price reference period. The price reference period is the base year, so we need to get the prices. So this is the methodology that leads to CPI rebasing. As I said, CPI rebasing involves two things: the weight is gotten from the living standard survey, then the base year, which is 2024. And I like to tell Nigerians, 2024 is the price reference period. Why 2024? It's in the manual, in the CPI manual of 2020, chapter 9, section 9.27. It's written there that the base year, which is called price reference period, should be a year that precedes the year you are launching your series. MBS is planning to launch a new CPI series in January 2025. The year that precedes 2025 is 2024. So that is the technical reason why we chose 2024 as our price reference period. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Waniko, does this apply to, take us through your own methodology as well? Because we are talking about consumer price index. I know it's not the same thing with gross domestic product.
Okay, and thank you very much. So for gross domestic product, you need to construct what they call supply and use table. That table is like a framework where all the data collected will be, inputted. And then there is need to collect a lot of data. So what we've done is to conduct very big surveys. We have the agricultural sensor and a follow-up survey that was done that went into the rebasing. We have national business establishment survey that was conducted that went into the rebasing. That gives you enough information on the formal sector. And then we have also engaged with critical stakeholders to collect administrative data, from MDAs that went into the rebasing. And of course, we also got numbers from our Nigerian Living Standard Survey. It's an outsourced survey that lasted for 12 months that gave us numbers on the informal sector that went into the rebasing. So the rebasing is the framework is like a pot that collects data across different activities, different sectors, for different purposes, for the production accounts, the expenditure accounts, the income accounts, and at the end of the day, you have aggregate numbers that are reported as the rebased numbers. And the aggregate numbers really are now to inform policies and give a more a better direction for the country.
Okay, how important is this in general? How important is this, Dr. Anthony? How important is this to the economy at this point in time?
Thank you very much. The rebasing of these two macroeconomic indicators is very important to all the economic agents in an economy. To household, when you rebase the consumer price index, it gives the inflationary pressure, the current inflationary pressure, which help household to plan very well. If I want to buy something today, and I know that the inflation tomorrow will be higher than today, I have to buy it today. So it informs household decision. Even firm as well. If you want to adjust the wages and salary of your workers in your company, the current inflation we are going to compute after the rebase will tell you the rate at which prices of goods and services are moving presently in the economy. Even government as well. It will help government also in their planning. Also, it will help the monetary authority in the monetary policy formulation. Because the monetary policy instrument, monetary policy rates, liquidity ratio, bank rate, all those things, they are informed by CPI. CPI determines the direction of the adjustment. So with the rebasing of the CPI as well, it will also help the monetary authority and even fiscal authority as well to adjust their stabilization instrument. For GDP as well, yes, it will also inform government. As I've said earlier, the secondary analysis estimator like debt to GDP ratio, government will be able to take decision on issue of sustainability of debt. Also, it will show how the size of Nigeria economy. Investors will know the rationale behind coming to Nigeria to invest their limited resources, because it will show the size and the potentials of all the sectors. Because after the rebasing now, we will see how the potential of the sector. Is it agricultural sector? Is it the service sector? The mining sector? We will see the size of the economy and the potentials in each of the sectors that make up the aggregate economy of Nigeria. So a lot of benefit to be gotten from this exercise, both from government, household, and firm.
I'm afraid I have a lot of questions to still ask, despite the fact that we've spent some time, you know. But, well, well, it seems like I'll have to end the conversation here. Thank you very much, Dr. Ayo Andrew Anthony and Mr. Moses Waniko. Thank you very much for sharing your thought with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.